So we're in this position. Oh, good. More people are joining. So we are in this position, and it's white to move. And let me know what ideas you have in this position. I will also look at the chat just in case. Oh, Niels is not here. He was usually the guy with the chat. Yeah.
Maybe like bishop f4, just because that pawn on d6 could be a weakness. Something like knight takes e7, queen takes, bishop takes b7, queen takes, and then there's no defender of the d6 pawn, and you're just developing a piece.
All right, so you're saying bishop f4. Oh, did I stop my camera? Sorry. Oh, doesn't matter. So you're saying bishop f4 with the idea of taking on e7 and b7 and f6, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that does look pretty nice for white also. But there's a much stronger move. So try to look out for that. Because I guess something like bishop f4, rook d8 still sort of holds on.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think I'm going to show it to you since it's the first one, but you'll probably get used to these types of tricks. So the trick is we take on b7, and after queen takes b7, there's queen d5, which just wins the game. Do you see why?
Yeah.
Oh, queen takes take the bishop, and then.
Yeah. So if the queen moves, we just take the rook. If white plays knight c6, we take that, and then take on e7, and then take the queen. So yeah, this just wins for white, and it's a pretty nice tactic because you don't really think about doing this. Like, you want to keep a piece on d5. Because that's basically your best thing. That's the best thing you got going for you in this position, that you have the d5 square, so you don't really think of trading and putting the queen there to recapture with the pawn. But because of the bishop on e7 and the knight on f5, we can do this. All right, so this was the first one. Pretty neat little trick. So do watch out for these types of tricks. Let's do the next one. So once again, today's theme is tricks on this diagonal, right? Because last time we did this diagonal. So we have g3, d5, bishop g2, e5, d3, c6. This is a nice setup for white for black in case you ever face this. Like this g3, bishop g2, it's always good to just create this formation in front of the white bishop. You can never go wrong with c6, d5 against the bishop on g2. So we have knight d2. So white's going for basically a sort of a modern setup, and black is basically trying to be white. So have knight gf3, f6. So there's this kind of center going for black now here. And after f6, castles, bishop c5 is already starting to be a bit too ambitious, I would say. I guess you would want. It's pretty dangerous to put your bishop there when you can run into so many d4s. So as black, if I get here, I would probably try to play something like bishop d6, and just be very, very, very solid in the center with moves like knight d7, castles, and just maintain that tension there. White will probably break with c4 or e4, or e3 d4 or c3 d4, but it doesn't matter if I have this construction with knight on e7, knight on d7, and these two bishops here, nobody can really break this center up. So yeah, after bishop c5, you always have to be sort of on the lookout for these d4 tricks. Maybe even here we could play d4, and if he takes, just knight b3 and recapture there. And all of a sudden now, black doesn't really have that much of a center anymore. And when I take on d4, this will be also hanging. So yeah, bishop c5, not a good move. And d4 was actually played in the game. So the game went d4, e takes d4, and knight b3, bishop b6, knight f takes d4. So now we can see why the bishop c5 thing was a problem. So when we have bishop d7, also bishop d7. Like d7 is a weird square. You would much rather want it on f7. I'm not sure why black went for bishop d7. And now, how would you continue here? Like from a strategic point of view, what do you want to do now? So we have our development is almost complete, right? So we still have to get the bishop out, but there's not really any amazing squares for it at the moment. The black king is in the center, and black is pretty underdeveloped, and that f6 does weaken the king. So what would you look? What's the move you would like to make work here as was white?
Just open things up with e4.
Yeah, exactly. So with the black king in the center, and this f6 move played, e4 is just irresistible in this position. So yeah, e4. Also now you have ideas of queen h5. The rook is coming on e1, and the black king will be in trouble here. So e4, very good. We have d takes e4 and bishop takes e4. Now the threat is queen h5 followed by bishop takes g6, because that rook is hanging. So after bishop takes e4, black played g6. Well, I don't think there was anything wrong with knight e7. But yeah, it's still not a fun position. So probably after knight e7, I would look to play something like rook e1, renewing the threat of queen h5, because now let's say black plays a move knight a6. Now queen h5 is once again a threat, because you can't take back with the knight. So yeah, but black chose g6 just to avoid any type of queen h5 ideas now or in the future. So after g6, rook e1, the most natural move, king f7, and now I think it's pretty clear the opening has gone a bit wrong for black. So after king f7, queen d3, white's just finishing development, maybe threatening some checks. But mostly just you want to play something like bishop f4, rook a d1, finish development, and black has really weird pieces in this position. No real prospects of counterplay either. So not fun. So queen d3, f5, bishop f3. No need to start looking for crazy sacrifices in such a position. Unless you calculate mate here, you're just going to win the game by basically developing your pieces. Nothing special. So f5, bishop f3, knight f6. And now, once again, now that knight f6 has been played, we can finish development while also bothering black. So bishop h6, really nice move. Now queen c4 is a massive threat, and black would want to play king g7 in this position, but he can't. Why did black not play king g7 here? I'm not really sure. At first I thought knight e6, check, but the queen is protected by the bishop, so that's not such a disaster. So yeah, black should have just played king g7 first, but yeah, his position is still not a very happy one. So after knight f6, bishop h6. Now black played knight a6, thinking that he can just parry the threat of queen c4 with knight d5. So after queen c4, knight d5. Let's think about how we finish black off in this position. So you will have to calculate quite a bit here, but yeah, basically just try to find a win, because there's a win here. Now, obviously, if you just take on d5, you're going to be better, right? But we need the position is asking for a bit more than just being clearly better. Oh wait. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. So after, yeah, it was a bit weird. So after, yeah, so after bishop h6 in this position, black played bishop c8. That's to parry knight queen c4 with knight d5, and only after rook a d1, knight a6, queen c4 check, knight d5. So this is the position, because white was just winning after bishop takes d5. So here's where we need to think. Yeah.
How's black going to hold on to the d5 knight if we just go knight takes c6, pawn takes c6, queen takes c6?
My guess would be something like knight a c7, but I'm not sure. So we can look into that. So you're saying knight takes c6, b takes c6, queen takes c6.
Yeah.
Let's try to find something for, or is there something for black there?
Because can't we just go bishop takes d5 after knight c7?
Yeah, we can. I think, I guess the problem is somewhere along the lines of knight d5, although that is also clearly winning for black. So I'm not sure he can defend that, to be honest. Yeah, so black would probably just have to give back the knight and be in obviously losing position. But there is something better.
Mm-hmm.
But good spot, 96, really nice. 96, queen t6. Yeah, go on.
Sorry, I've not calculated it fully ever. I unmuted and then realised I hadn't really thought it through properly.
All right.
My idea was rook e7 because the
Rook
knight's
e7.
pinned.
All right.
Oh, they've queen captures now. Never mind. No, I hadn't thought it through when I unmuted. So,
All right. All right. Right. So let's look at what Gregor proposed. So I guess something like knight c6, bc6, queen c6. I'll say knight c7. Although I guess here you can just take the rook, but yeah. So something we're not the gist of it is we're not happy with this, right? Because we will win most likely, but we can get much more out of the position. So there's basically a forced win here that forces black to resign. Victor?
Yeah, I would just take the c6 pawn, but to clear the file for the rook. After b takes, maybe either rook takes, although then bishop. I don't know. Maybe bishop takes on on d5. If pawn takes, rook takes. Threaten some discoveries, and if the bishop.
There's and at your line, so knight c6, bc6, bishop takes d5, c takes d5, rook takes d5. We have bishop. Black has bishop e6 there.
I would just take the bishop with the rook.
Oh, I see. All right. All right, fair. But you did say something else just before that. I think there's right, but I guess queen c7. Oh, queen c7. You want rook takes f5. Huh. Yeah, probably also works. Yeah, but there's a really simple solution, which you did say. So
I don't know, what did I say?
you said takes on d5 with the rook. Can you look a bit into that?
I mean, there are plenty of ways to discover the rook, but I don't know.
Yeah. So once you see it, it becomes pretty obvious. So black's king, if we look, doesn't really have any squares here, right?
Yeah.
So all these are taken. So he cannot he just go to g8 or f6. So once this happens, not only we can take the rook back on g8, but this is just mate, right? So no real need in calculating anything. Once you see this, as black just has to recapture, and now he has only one square for the king, and this is checkmate. So yeah, once again, the bishop on the g2 does decide the game, although in all fairness, black played so bad that probably anything wins. So yeah, but important to see this pattern with the bishops just blocking black's retreat, and this is a nice checkmate. Good. Let's see another example. Are you finding these too difficult? Should I try easier examples, or do you think they're fine?
No, this is good. Good to try some hard ones.
yes,
All right. Well, let's see a game of Botvinnik then. So we have c4, e5, knight c3, knight f6, g3, d5, it takes d5, knight takes d5, bishop g2. So this is called the, actually it's not called anything yet, but this usually goes into a reverse the dragon. So after bishop e6, knight f3, knight c6, we basically have a reverse the dragon. If any of you play the open Sicilian as white or the dragon as black, you will recognize that this is basically the dragon, but the tempo down for black, because obviously he's black. So good. So after knight c6, castles, knight b6. We have d3, bishop e7, usual developing moves. A3, just to grab some space with b4, make this knight uncomfortable. Black stops that with a5. We have bishop e3. It's not really a square you would usually put your bishop, but once again, if any of you are familiar with the dragon, this is usually the best square for the bishop. So with black, it would usually go on e6. Here it goes on e3. Just because we don't really want to move the e pawn anyway, as it would weaken d3, and obviously we don't want it to go to e4 because it would weaken d4. So since we're not keen on moving this pawn anyway, we can just put our bishop here where it has some influence over black's queen side. So after bishop e3, castles, we have knight a4, which might seem like a weird move, but Botvinnik obviously understands that it's more important to start to get things going as white here against black's queen side, because if you look, basically all your pieces are sort of converging towards the queen side, right? So you will have what you would ideally want to have is have your queen out, and then maybe your rook comes here, and all of a sudden maybe some b4 starts happening, and it's hard for black to deal with such pressure while when all of white's pieces are working towards busting open that queen side. So after knight a4, knight takes a4, queen takes a4, you can easily imagine things like queen b5 start happening, and then it's weird to protect that pawn, because if you go rook b8, then I can get b4 in sometimes. I will put my rook on the open file, and yeah, also e5 is hanging, so queen b5 is really a threat in this exact moment. Hold on. Yeah, thank you, Ben. Sorry. Good. So after queen takes b5, after queen takes a4, we have bishop d5, stopping the threat of queen b5, as now d4 is just not hanging anymore. So after bishop d5, rook fc1, developing rook e8, rook c2. Simple chess played here by Botvinnik, but very efficient. We have bishop f8, the usual regrouping, rook ac1, and now we have knight b8, which might seem weird at first, but it does have a point. So what is black's point here? There is obvious pressure now with rook ac1. So what if left alone, white will play something like queen b5, as I said, and just start working towards maybe pushing b4 at some moment. So what Black is trying to do is just completely secure his queen side here. So if White plays just a neutral move, I don't know, let's say h3. What Black will do is play bishop c6, and then next move knight d7, and then it's really hard to get to Black's queen side at that point. So the obvious problem with the move knight v8 is that the c7 pawn is hanging. But Botvinning's opponent was Portish, right? I think most of you should have heard about Portish, a great chess player of his time, and he did see that the c7 is hanging. So what could be Black's point after rook takes c7?
After rook takes c7, we could play bishop c6, trap the rook, and attack the queen.
Yeah, that was Portish's point. So after rook takes c7, bishop c6, the queen is attacked, and also the rook on c7 now is no longer defended by the rook on c1. But the thing is, Botvinnik calculated a bit more than Portish here, and saw that rook c7 actually works. So after rook c7, bishop c6, try to think of why this is the case. So just assume you've blundered bishop c6 in this position and try to get out of it. So usually in these things, also when solving tactics, but even in a chess game where you're low on time or at any point really, you can just use the process of elimination for a bit. So it's obvious we're not going to move the queen anywhere. So I guess you could check. Yeah, you could check if queen c4 and knight g5 leaves Black unable to defend f7, but that's obviously not going to be the case. So you're not going to move the queen, right? If you're not going to move the queen, then that means that you will have to protect the rook somehow or sacrifice on c6. Protecting the rook with bishop b6 doesn't make much sense, as Black will just take the queen, and then even if you somehow manage to get that queen back, it will be for a piece. So that leaves us with only one option, sacrificing on c6. Now, how do we do that? Well, if we do it with this rook, and he takes back with the knight, we obviously did not achieve anything. We just gave up an exchange, and we don't even have any activity to show for it, right? So by process of elimination, that means that rook 1 takes c6 has to be the move. Now, knowing rook 1 takes c6 is the move, try to see a bit further from there.
Do we just play bishop b6, and after that, whatever Black plays, take the b7 pawn?
The b7 pawn, right? So after rook 1 takes c6, he has two options, right? He can take with the knight or the pawn.
Yeah.
So
I was assuming you take with the knight, and then bishop b6, and then whatever Black
don't
plays.
really need. In that case, you don't really need bishop b6, do you? You can just take on b7.
Yeah.
So Yeah, and I guess if he takes with the knight, then at least you can justify the exchange sacrifice, because so let's look at this. So let's say rook 1 takes c6, knight takes c6, rook takes b7. So now this is hanging, and I mean, yeah. So this exchange sacrifice is justifiable because there's some bishop b6 coming. Maybe there's also some knight g5, the rook on the 7th. So you can probably get away with this. And white, it's easy to imagine white being better here with all the initiative he has going. So already after, let's say something like bishop g5, the queen. So let's say rook c8, right? That's the most natural move, just defending the knight. Something like bishop g5, maybe it's already a bit awkward to defend. Like the queen doesn't really have squares. He can put something on e7, but the point is, you can make something happen here, right? So the real question is, what happens when black takes with the b pawn? Because once again, the rook is trapped there. So this position. Because otherwise we just gave up 2 rooks for a bishop, which is usually minus EV. So if we get a pawn, like if let's say we could take on c6 here and black doesn't recapture, that would be good, because we have the bishop pair, which is great, and also a pawn. It's already enough compensation usually for the exchange. But that pawn's defended, so what can we come up with here?
I mean, I don't know if it's anything concrete, but looks like rook takes f7 might get a bit nasty if the king. I mean that's the pawn, and then if the king takes, we've got knight g5 coming. The queen can swing over now that the a2 to g8 diagonal's been opened. I don't know. It just looks like it might have something there.
All right. A bit of a problem with what you said. So rook takes f7. The idea is good. So you said king takes f7, knight g5, right? So knight g5, your point is if king g8, you want what? King, queen, c4, right?
Just check, yeah.
Yeah, and then that's going to be mate, not even smothered mate, as the rook doesn't defend g8. So yeah, that's kind of what you want to make work, right? Rook takes f7 here. There's no other idea. Now, question is, does it work? So rook takes f7. Once again, if black doesn't take back, then we can be happy with what we've accomplished. So we've weakened the black king. We took the bishop pair. We also took a pawn. That's enough compensation. So let's see what happens if he takes the rook. So let's try to calculate. Rook f7, king f7. And now all sorts of options. So we have queen c4, knight g5. What works and what doesn't.
I mean, this looks a bit suicidal, but maybe after knight g5, I think king f6. I don't know if there's a follow-up.
Well, that's what you want to be looking at, right? Because king g8, queen c4 is just mate,
yeah,
or take the queen. So what you want to calculate, king f6 and king g6, basically. I guess also king e7 deserves some attention. So that's the direction you want to be looking at. Because remember, you do have to kind of see this here, right?
Yeah.
Because we did choose to take on c7. We could have just not taken on c7. So you don't really do this unless you have a clear follow-up in mind. So rook f7, king f7. Now what?
Oh crap! Oh, it's nearly the hour. Oh, such a shame. All right, I'm gonna have to go now because I've got a tutorial starting soon.
No, that's all right.
That's such a cliffhanger. All right. Well, cheers for that, Victor. See you.
All right. See ya. Anybody else want to give it a go? Should I show it, or do you guys want to still think? Hello?
I think it would be better if we show it.
All right. So yeah, rook f7, king f7. Point is, knight g5 is not. I guess knight g5 works too, but it's more accurate to start with queen c4, as it's just more forcing. So now we don't have to worry about king e7 because then we'll just take the queen. So we don't really need to worry really about king g5, king f6, or king g6. So king f6 is obviously just bishop g5 and take the queen. So you can just rule those. You want to be looking for the most forcing things. So by queen c4, you're just left basically with only king g6. So after king g6, queen g4. Now once again, if he goes here, just we take the queen, and if not, we have knight g5, which basically forces him to either give up the queen or be mated. So yeah, king e6 is just king e7 is just queen e6 mate. King g6 loses the queen with knight e4. So the only thing you're left that's left to check is king f6. So try to find the win here.
Would we play knight takes h7?
All right, you do need a follow-up, so king f7.
King f7, then queen to c4.
All right, king g6.
Perhaps queen to e4.
Yeah, king f7 back. That's too complicated. There's a very easy solution once you see it. So just all right. So it's just queen f3. So once again, the most forcing. If black goes to g6, then we just have queen f7 and knight d6 picks up the queen. I think it's also mate. And if not, if king e7, then we just have queen f7 forcing the king up the board, and then once again, this is mate, right? So yeah, try to be a bit more careful. You should be seeing mates in two and at this point. So yeah, good. So after rook takes f7, black saw that yeah, king takes f7 just loses, and just played h6, point being he just wants to continue the game, although it should be pretty clear now that he's worse, but at least he's not losing on the spot. So after rook takes f7, h6, we have rook b7, queen c8, queen c4 check, king h8. What was the problem with queen e6? Do you see a good move for white here? Anybody? So queen is pinned. How can we use that? Right, so knight takes c5. We just pick up the pawn. Queen is pinned, so when he takes, we just take back with the knights. And now he just, yeah, we have 2 pawns for the exchange, and as if that wasn't enough, black can't even develop, as this is hanging. This will be hanging too. So this is just completely over, basically. White can just march his king to d2 if he wants to. Black can't really do much in this position. Bishop b6 will pick up this pawn. Knight b6 can also be a threat. So yeah, this just horrible position. So that's why Fortis chose king h8. And now knight h4, very powerful move. Threat is knight g6, followed by queen or bishop e4, creating all sorts of nastiness. But yeah, obviously the problem is the rook hangs. So how does white win here?
Is it just knight to g6 and king h7, bishop e4? I don't really see any defense now.
Yeah, exactly. So this does basically leave black defenseless. Now he cannot stop a discovered check, and that will just be followed by more more nastiness. So the immediate threat is knight e7 followed by queen g8 mate. So black tries to stop that with bishop d6. But now, unfortunately for him, there's knight takes e5. And after g6, just bishop takes g6 and the rook drops. And also, yeah, the black king remains very weak. I'm pretty sure there should be mate. Oh, actually, we can pick up the queen after king g7. Does anybody see how? So king g7, how do we pick up the queen?
If king g7 here, then we take on h6 with the bishop.
Yeah, exactly. Very good. Yeah, so point is just bishop takes and check and check, and the queen drops, and this rook hangs, and this rook hangs, and the king will be mated, and it's a very bad day for black. So yeah, after bishop takes g6, black just resigned. Obviously, if king g8, if king h8, just knight f7 check, followed by takes the bishop with check, and then we give another check because we can, and then we go back and take the queen. So yeah, nice, very nice game by Botvinnik. Just showcases how easily a position can crumble from basically nothing. So it's hard to see where black went wrong, because knight b8 does seem like a pretty clever move, just to strengthen the queen side with ideas like bishop c6 or maybe c6 b5 even, keeping that bishop on d5. But yeah, but Botvinnik is just amazingly strong and spotted this this pretty neat rook takes f7. And yeah, with precise calculation here, white just wins in a couple of moves. Good. Let's do another one, and then you are free. Let me try to pick a shorter one. Yeah, this looks fine. All right, let's do this one. So we have knight f3, knight f6, c4, e6, g3, b6, bishop g2, bishop b7. Once again, the battle of the diagonals. Castles, bishop e7, knight c3, castles, d4, knight e4. Pretty common theme. Black wants to fight for the e4 square. So what he wouldn't want to do is, I don't know, play some neutral move like d6, and then have queen c2 happen, and then next move is e4, and then you're not happy as black. So knight e4. If black does nothing, if white does nothing, he will probably want to push f5. Once again, strengthen his grip on that square. So knight e4, bishop d2. There are many moves in this position. It's still theory, obviously. Bishop d2 is one of them. So yeah, bishop d2, d5, c takes d5, knight takes c3, bishop takes c3, and now bishop takes d5, which is pretty weird because you are sort of giving up control over the center. Even if you do play f5, that move does weaken this square once this happens. and I will be able to play f3, e4 anyway if I want to. And if you don't play f5, then I will probably get just queen c2, e4 in anyway. So yeah, bishop takes d5 is a pretty questionable move. Queen c2, going for d4. c5, rook f d1. It's once again a question of which rook. So do you put the a rook on d1 or do you put the f rook on d1? But in this case, it's probably better to put the f rook, because after c5, this file is probably going to be open. So you want your rook here. So c takes d4, knight takes d4, and now queen c7, because bishop takes g2 would have been met by. Can anybody tell me by what? What was the problem with just taking on g2?
Problem is that knight takes e6, and whatever, if black moves the queen, you take the rook, threaten either queen takes h7 or knight takes h7, so black can't move the bishop from g2.
Yeah, exactly. Very good, very good. So yeah, and also bishop d5 is not really a problem, because you will just take and then play e4 and take that bishop back. So because of that, black chose queen c7, and just admits basically to being much worse after bishop takes d5. That would be basically kind of a dream position for white, with the strong knight on d4, with the much superior development with knight f5 coming, rook c1. But there's an even stronger tactic here, so please pause and please find this, as it's pretty nice. Any ideas? Dorian, William? I don't know if you guys are saying anything. Your mics are muted. Should I just show it?
So I think I just got it. Is it? Do we start with knight f5? Then with the idea, whatever black does, knight to h6, and after king h8, we sacrifice the bishop on g7 and take the queen.
Oh, I see what you're going for, but can't the knight on h6 just be taken?
On h6, yeah, but then we get the open file and diagonal, and it looked better.
Well, yeah, but that's probably not going to be enough, as we can't really get the queen there in time. No, so the idea is pretty neat. I will agree it's not obvious, but yeah, it's nice. So it's knight takes c6. Now, obviously, if bishop takes, then the rook on a8 drops, and if f takes, Victor.
Do we just take the bishop with the rook?
Yeah, exactly. So after f takes, we have rook takes d5, and now if e takes d5, we take with the bishop, and it's a check, and then the rook will drop, and then we just won 2 pawns basically. But black is not forced to do that, so at the moment we're just 1 pawn up, although obviously with a much better position. So after rook takes d5, knight c6 was played. Now he's threatening to take the rook. Rook h5, threatening mate. g6, and now one last finishing touch here, queen e4, threatening the knight, also threatening to take on e6, and let's say, yeah, black is basically defendless, so he can't defend the knight and the pawn on e6, and knight d8 is just such an ugly move to make that black just decided to resign in this position. But let's see why. So if black takes, we have queen takes c6, rook f7, bishop takes c6, and after rook d8, just bishop d5. And yeah, now one of the rooks will drop, so might as well be this one. And yeah, this is just horrible. So this king doesn't have any protectors anymore. This pawn structure is horrible. And even if the pawn structure wasn't horrible, we are 2 pawns down as black. So yeah, once again, pretty nice game. And it all comes from this ridiculous bishop takes d5. But yeah, it's easy to miss this tactic, but yeah, really nice. And pretty thematic. Although this, yeah, what you said with knight f5 is a pretty common tactic when there's a piece on d5. You see it mostly in Sicilians. But yeah, also be on the lookout for these types of moves. Because let's say, I don't know, let's say for example, this queen was on c8, not on c7, which it very easily can be. Then yeah, knight f5 would be a very, very, very strong move, as it threatens taking on e7. All right, thank you guys for joining me. How did you find the level? Was it a bit too difficult today? Dorian, Marley, William?
I mean, it was a bit hard, but it's fine. That's how we learn.
All right, good. Anybody else?
Yeah, it was a bit hard, but it was good for learning, I guess.
All right. So would you like to see this in the future as well? Like, should I keep this level or should I go a bit lower?
Yeah, like this, it would be fine. I mean, I think that will get better and better at this. So.
All right. Yeah. Well, once you see many patterns, you'll get better at this. What did you think, Victor?
I quite liked it. I thought the level was a little better than what I usually expect. So I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me. And yeah, see you next time. And also, yeah, be careful about what time it starts because I posted on the group. So yeah. Okay. Thank you. And see you guys next Friday.
Bye.
Yeah, goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.